They say old age is a second childhood, but what they don't say is how lonely that second childhood can be. I'm Lydia Bennett, born in 1955 in Missoula, Montana. Back in 2020, when I turned 65, my son Liam began acting differently toward me. I felt invisible, unwanted. But then something happened that revealed the truth behind his sweet smiles. Today, at 69, sitting alone in my rocking chair with the mountains outside my window, I'm finally sharing this because no mother should ever feel used by her own child. If you're listening, drop your city in the comments and tell me, what would you do if your own blood turned into a stranger? Like, subscribe, and share this story to everyone around or anyone you know. I'd always told Liam that I lived on a small social security check. Truth is, after my husband Bill passed in 2018, I was left with not just memories but a tidy pension, years of careful savings, and the house we built together from scratch. But from early on, I'd made the decision to downplay my finances. I wanted Liam to see me as his mother, not his ATM. A mother's pride is funny that way, quiet, fierce, and cautious. The first sign that something was wrong came quietly, like most betrayals do. It was the summer of 2021. Liam came by with Melissa and the kids. At first, it was all laughter, me cooking in the kitchen, little Emma drawing on the walls with my lipstick, and Liam asking if he could take a peek at some old tax documents I kept in the drawer. I chuckled and changed the topic. But I noticed the way his eyes lingered on my safe, the one Bill installed beneath the pantry floor. "Mom," he said casually, slicing an apple, "you ever think about how hard it is these days raising a family? Bills pile up. We're barely scraping by." I nodded, offering sympathy, but my stomach tightened. He wasn't just talking. He was leading up to something. When I told him I only received around $1,000 a month, he paused. "That's rough," he said slowly. "But you get by, right?" "I manage," I replied, turning to the sink to hide my face. By Thanksgiving, I thought surely they'd visit. I cooked a full spread: roast turkey, cornbread stuffing, cranberry sauce like Bill used to love. The house smelled like childhood. But the door never opened. The phone never rang. I waited until midnight before I packed the food away and sat on the porch, wrapped in an old quilt. 3 days later, I drove to their house unannounced. Melissa opened the door with surprise, eyes darting behind me. "Oh, we didn't expect you." "I figured," I said, stepping inside anyway. The house felt colder than it should, not in temperature but in spirit. That night I stayed in the guest room. I couldn't sleep, and I didn't know why until I heard voices. Liam and Melissa were whispering in the hallway, unaware that the walls carried every word straight to my room. "She's hiding money, Liam. You said her house is paid off." "She doesn't even pay rent," Melissa hissed. "She's playing poor, that's what it is. She could help with the mortgage, but she won't. Selfish old." "Shoo," Melissa warned. I stopped breathing. My own son, my flesh and blood, talking about me like I was some kind of burden, or worse, a vault waiting to be cracked. I left before dawn. Didn't say goodbye. Just a note on the table. "Thanks for the hospitality." I drove home in silence, the betrayal echoing louder than the morning bird song. I stared at Bill's picture on the mantel when I got back. "We didn't raise him like this," I whispered. My heart ached, not just for the loss of what Liam had become, but for the lie I'd told myself all these years, that love from children is unconditional. For weeks I said nothing, but something had shifted inside me, a kind of bitter wisdom. I began volunteering at the senior center downtown. I made friends. I read to children at the library. I gave away small donations anonymously. It made me feel alive. Then Christmas came. I didn't decorate. No one called. I wrapped a scarf around my neck and went out to buy groceries. On my way home, I saw Melissa at the gas station. She looked startled. I waved politely, but her eyes darted away. That night, Liam finally called. "Hey, Mom. Been a while." "It has," I said flatly. "We've been meaning to come by. Been hectic with the kids. Actually, there's something we wanted to talk about. Here it comes. We've hit a bit of a rough patch. The car's acting up, rent's behind. We were wondering if you could help." I let the silence hang. Then I said it. "I gave my money away." "What?" he snapped. "I donated it. All of it. To the library. The senior program. A scholarship fund. Gone." He didn't speak for 5 seconds. "You're joking, right?"
No.
"Are you insane? That's our inheritance." "No, Liam," I said slowly. "That was never yours to expect." He hung up. I sat in my rocking chair that night, alone but lighter than I'd felt in years. Not because I had no money, but because I finally had no fear. Weeks passed. Then one Sunday afternoon I heard a knock. It was Liam. Alone.
No, Melissa.
No kids. Just him standing awkwardly with a bag of groceries. "I brought you something," he said, eyes downcast.
I'm sorry, Mom.
I took the bag but said nothing. We sat in silence. Then for the first time in years he asked, "How are you really?" I smiled faintly. "I'm better than I've been in a long time." And I meant it, deep down I meant it. After Liam left that Sunday, I sat by the window for a long while, watching the trees sway against the Montana wind. Something in his voice had changed. Or maybe I was just hearing it for the first time without the fog of hope clouding my ears. Either way, I didn't respond to his apology the way I thought I would. Not with tears. Not with an embrace. But with quiet acknowledgement. Because after what I'd heard in that hallway weeks ago, I wasn't the same woman anymore. The next few days brought a stillness I hadn't felt since Bill passed. But it wasn't sadness. It was clarity. For the first time, I wasn't waiting on anyone, not calls, not visits, not explanations. I spent my mornings volunteering at the senior center, folding laundry, playing chess with a veteran named Fred who still wore his wedding ring though his wife had been gone for 12 years. One afternoon, after a storytelling session at the library, a girl named Ellie tugged my sleeve and whispered, "You talk like my grandma used to." I smiled and knelt down, brushing her hair behind her ear. "Then your grandma must have had a big heart," I told her. That night I sat with my checkbook open and wrote donations that felt like love letters, to the local animal shelter, to the free clinic that helped the uninsured, to the school that hadn't replaced its library books in a decade. My heart swelled as the ink dried. Every dollar I gave away stitched me back together. A week later, Liam showed up again, this time with the kids. Emma and Daniel ran straight into my arms, laughing like nothing had changed. And maybe for them, nothing had. But I noticed how Liam hovered by the door, almost afraid to enter. "I told them we were visiting Grandma," he said simply. "They insisted." We sat at the kitchen table and I poured hot cocoa. Melissa wasn't there and I didn't ask why. He didn't offer either. "Mom," Liam started, rubbing his palms together. "I said some things I shouldn't have. We both did." I sipped my cocoa in silence. "I guess I thought, I don't know, that you owed us something." I raised my eyes to meet his. "That's the part that hurt, Liam. You assumed my life existed to cushion yours. That because I saved, I should sacrifice." He looked down. "I know. I was wrong. And Melissa." He paused. "She doesn't know I came today." I wasn't surprised. But I appreciated his honesty. "You've still got time to be better," I said. "For them. For yourself." A few days later, word got out about the donations. Local news picked up a story about an anonymous elderly woman funding 10 scholarships, and replacing an entire wing of books at the elementary school. I never confirmed it. Never needed to. The library sent me a thank you card with a child's drawing that said, "Thank you, Book Fairy." And that was all the reward I needed. Melissa called that evening. I didn't answer. Her message was short. "I heard what you did. I hope you sleep well at night knowing you gave away your family's future." But it wasn't her voice that got to me. It was the bitterness, the entitlement, the same voice that had whispered in that hallway. And I realized I did sleep well at night. In fact, I hadn't slept this peacefully in years. By spring, Liam and I had established a rhythm. He'd visit every other Sunday with the kids. We didn't talk about money anymore. We talked about books and memories of Bill and Daniel's new obsession with outer space. I never offered help. He never asked. One Sunday, Emma handed me a paper she drew. It was a picture of a house on a hill, with an old woman and two kids waving from the porch. "That's you," she said, "and me and Daniel, because you're our safe place." I blinked fast, trying not to cry. I wasn't a wallet. I wasn't a burden. I was a safe place. That night, Liam lingered longer than usual. "Mom," he said, "I'm working on something. A side business. I want to stand on my own. I just thought you should know." Pride and grief tangled in my chest. "That's all I ever wanted, sweetheart. Not your apology. Just your independence." He nodded slowly. "And maybe one day, your forgiveness." I reached for his hand. "You're already halfway there." Now, at 69, I live quietly, joyfully, and finally, for me. The woman who once lowered her voice so others could feel bigger now reads aloud to classrooms and sings in the church choir. The woman who once clutched her bank book in fear now holds nothing tighter than peace. I don't know what the future holds for Liam and I, but I know this. Love that comes with a price tag isn't love at all. And no amount of blood makes entitlement a birthright. If you're listening to this, I want you to know your worth isn't tied to what you give. Real love won't demand proof in dollars. Drop your location in the comments section and tell me your thoughts. Like this video if it touched you. Subscribe to Favy Tales and share this with someone who needs to hear it.
Moral lesson.
Never let guilt silence your wisdom. Generosity should flow from love, not obligation. Protect your peace. And above all, love yourself enough to say no.